Okay, me explaining to my husband the plot of Wuthering Heights, the book, because I just dragged him to the movie theaters to see the movie with me. And now I feel the need to tell him the exact plot of the book, somewhat high level. I'll probably go into too much detail. And explaining which characters were left out and why I don't prefer that they were left out. And that's pretty much it. So, major spoilers. If you have not read the book or seen the movie and don't want to have spoilers, then just move on ahead. Okay, so starting out, if we're talking about it in a chronological order, the book starts from the middle of the story, and there's a random character that they did not put in the movie, which is fine because he's pretty irrelevant, Mr. Lockwood, and he's just showing up to rent Thrushcross Grange from Heathcliff, who owns it. And he also owns Wuthering Heights. So Mr. Lockwood is showing up at Wuthering Heights to meet Heathcliff and just like introduce himself, whatever, because he's the new tenant. So he shows up at Wuthering Heights, he meets Heathcliff, and he also meets Mrs. Catherine Heathcliff is like 17 or 16 or something. And her husband is dead, who is a Mr. Heathcliff. So obviously that's Heathcliff's son, which we do find out like pretty immediately thereafter. After Mr. Lockwood makes a faux pas in assuming that Mrs. Catherine Heathcliff is Heathcliff's wife, and he's told very quickly that's not the case. So he finds out that Heathcliff's wife is dead. You find out that Heathcliff's son is dead. And Catherine Heathcliff, or Mrs. Cathy, whatever, is there. And there's another boy character, like Catherine's age-ish, whose name is Hareton Earnshaw. He's not part of the movie, and his whole lineage is just totally wiped from the movie. So even if I told you who his father was and whatever, you'd be like, who the hell is that? Because he's not in the movie. But anyway, okay. We'll get to that later. So basically, Mr. Lockwood comes and meets all of them. And then he's just kind of like, that was crazy, whatever. But he is also like, wow, Catherine's so beautiful, like whatever. So he goes back to where he's renting the house at Thrushcross Grange. And he chats with Nellie, who is in the movie and depicted quite well, I might add. She's the servant there, housekeeper, whatever. And basically he wants more information about Heathcliff and Catherine and the whole gang at Wuthering Heights. So he's like, ooh, I wonder if Nellie will tell me. And it turns out she loves some gossip, and he wants the tea, and she's happy to give it to him. So then I think they literally do sit down for tea, or she like feeds him or something, and then they get into the story. So now we go back to the beginning from a chronological whatever of the story, and Nellie starts to tell Mr. Lockwood the story of Heathcliff, Catherine Earnshaw, aka Margot Robbie, and herself, Nellie, when she was a kid, and Lindley Earnshaw, who is Catherine's brother, who they just completely removed from the movie. Well, they say something about her dead brother, but in the book, I'm pretty sure, and it's like one line, so it's like super quick, so you could like almost miss it. So I'm like doubting myself even here a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that she also had a dead brother. So that part I think was actually accurate. But then she also had an alive brother. So Lindley Earnshaw is still alive. It's her older brother. He's like at least 5 years older than her, maybe even a little bit more than that. And then the dead brother that they didn't even say he had a name. I don't think. It was kind of weird, I thought, in the movie that she said that she wants to name Heathcliff after her dead brother, because I thought she was just like naming him after like the cliffs and the heat, like the scenery around where they were. But anyway, so it's the story of those 4 kids growing up together at Wuthering Heights. Okay, a couple other things that they changed in the movie versus in the book, besides the fact that they just completely got rid of the one brother altogether. But the father, I thought, was seemingly like nicer and more kind than they portray him to be in the movie. I think in the movie they basically combined her brother Lindley and the father into one character, which I thought was kind of weird because I feel like the way that the father is with like the gambling and the drinking is actually the way that Lindley was, and he was like more like abusive like that versus like the father. It does say that he hit Catherine once, so obviously he was somewhat violent, but like it didn't describe it in the way that like he was like super abusive. Like, I mean, again, like I don't think any parent should hit their child, obviously. This was obviously also the 1800s, and who knows what anyone was doing. So yeah, so basically that was a little bit different. And also it was different, like Heathcliff's origin story, if you will. Well, first of all, I think everyone's already talked about this already, but like they whitewashed him. So in the book, Heathcliff is brown. They don't specify exactly what ethnicity, but he is brown. And I think one of the reasons why people are like mad about that, and I sort of agree, not sort of, I do agree, is because the reason that he's treated so badly by most of the people is because he's not white and they are. So I think by having him be Jacob Elordi and like not being brown, they kind of like removed that whole aspect of it. So it doesn't really make as much sense why he's treated in such a different way. But I guess they also removed the brother, so I guess you can't, I don't know. Anyway, but so in the book, the original father, Mr. Earnshaw, he finds Heathcliff like on the side of the road, basically. They had this whole extra little tiny story about Heathcliff's dad like hitting him and this, that, and the other thing. In the book, that's not how it happens. He just like, they call him like a gypsy on the side of the road, and basically the father brings him home like he does. And then he basically is like, okay, like he's living with us now, whatever. But he like loves Heathcliff and like treats him like more of a son than he does Lindley, which is also why Lindley hates Heathcliff and is jealous and feels like he's like taking love from his father away from him. So that's part of the other reason why Lindley like wants to beat the shit out of Heathcliff on a regular basis. So that is a whole aspect of the story that obviously was removed without that character, although they kind of just like made it so that the father was beating him. But yeah, but that's part of the whole thing that's like so weird and so not true, because in the book, the father like loves Heathcliff. So anyway, okay, I'm going into way too much detail. But so we're at the beginning of the story now. Catherine, Margot Robbie Catherine, the one from the movie, is a little girl like she was in the beginning of that. Jacob Elordi, aka Heathcliff, is the small gypsy boy, whatever. And then Lindley is there. He's like a little bit older than them. And then Nellie is there. And she is sort of like a servant, housekeeper thing, but she also like plays with them. But Catherine and Heathcliff are definitely like, as they're depicted in the movie, I'd say like best friends, always playing with each other. She's also, though, I actually think they did a really good job of like getting her character pretty well though in the movie, like Catherine's. And Margot Robbie was perfectly cast. I mean, I know she like did the whole movie, so of course, but like she was perfect for that role, I think, and she did such a good job of it. And she is like the like little blonde whatever, but she's like kind of crazy and like a little bit like manipulative and yeah, I don't know, but a cool character, I think. Anyway, And they did a good job of showing, like, clearly she and Heathcliff, like, love each other from a very young age as well. Okay, I might need to pause for a moment.